is for your benefit, as well as the benefit of other passengers around you.
And if you fucking with it, then you my dude, my dude. We always down to dapper, give a pound to those who got their thumbs in the air. Hey, everything good right now. Little bit of Molly make the boy bite down. Thinking I can finally figure out my style on the stage. Looking at a big hype crowd. They go insane when I run out on the stage. Cause we don't give a fuck, don't need to act or age. Hey, when I'm old, I'ma spend my days laying with my girl on the beach in the shade. Have every single thing I can name, thank God every day I'm sleep in the rain. Blessed with some success, so I'ma try my best to live my life right. When I see God, I'll be impressed. Cause I've been on my grind, thinking I'll be fine if I take my time. Working so hard might break my spine, so while y'all see this face of mine, there's different ways to shine. I'ma find my own, know when I disappear, I'ma find my way back home.
Second or third time of the night. Last we heard, he's trying to find some bread.
We always down to dapper, give a pound to those who got their thumbs in the air.
Oh, I win.
Days go by and I think that I may be going crazy, maybe lose my mind. Looking at a constellation, me and God have a conversation. Got an eye, sorry about the lingo. Just kick it in the cup, playing bingo. I be all over the beat like Ringo. Look sweet, honey bee, gonna sting, no. I'm here, wanna do my thing. You can roll no matter who you bring. Now your wife, you wanna lose that ring. I don't pay you no mind. I just want the paper. Bring the game just a little more flavor. Say what up, take a flick with a hater. Throw a deuce like, see you later. That's funny, all I really want is a little cash money. Then life gonna be so sweet. Nah, it ain't a hotel. Yeah, nah, it ain't a hotel. I'm next. Shh, don't tell. I don't think they know it yet, but I do, I do. And if you fucking with it, then you my dude, my dude. We always down to dapper, give a pound to those who got their thumbs in the air. I don't think they know it yet, but I do, I do. And if you fucking with it, then you my dude, my dude. We always down to dapper, give a pound to those who got their thumbs in the air.
Hey, what's up everyone? It's Kevin Boudreau. It's been a long time, so I'm just going to jump straight into the updates. This is all from my trip to Canada. Basically, as you can see here, I'm at 204 VPPs when I left Canada. I think that was around March 13th. I think I was on pace when I left, but I ended up spending a week longer in Colorado than I wanted to, and I'm off pace now. But you can see the year's been going super, super well for me. I do have an admission. I was under a staking deal, backing deal, sold some action, whatever you want to call it. But basically, I only had about half my action for most of this year and most of last year after I went on that big downswing. And the reason I bring it up now is because I did get off of my backing deal, but they added 2550, 1020, and 510 zoom since I did that. I'm seriously considering going back on the deal just so I can play the highest stakes possible. A big goal of mine is to play the 25K 6 max WSOP event this summer. So I'm thinking all the experience that I can get will help me in that. So I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of money to gain that experience. But you guys can see all these graphs look pretty sick. I'm very happy with how this year is going. And I just got down to Playa del Carmen. So you can see this month, that was March, and that was only like 15 days, 13 days. So nearly won 50 buy-ins, which is pretty sick. But then you can see this is right when I got off the deal. Went on like a tiny downswing, but don't think it was anything other than variance. I was on a sick heater leading up to this, and I made the decision to just end the deal at 200K VPPs instead of when I was up or down a certain amount of money, just because I didn't want to think about how much I was up or down. And you can see this is the graph from the whole time I was in Canada. Started off pretty terrible, and then I came back and started crushing. So you can see 2.5, I've played nearly 400,000 hands at 2 BBs per 100, which is, I think, really good because I started off as like a 4 BB loser over like the first 100K hands, something crazy like that. But It took a lot of practice, a lot of time trying to improve my game, and it worked out. And this is the breakdown by month. So you see, first couple months I was up in Canada was a little brutal, but things have definitely turned around. I feel very confident in my 6-max game, and I'm excited where things are going. Also very excited to announce that Onnit.com has added me to the honor roll. If you're not familiar with Onnit, they sell supplements, they sell foods, they sell fitness equipment, and I initially heard of them through the Joe Rogan podcast. So I tried some Alpha Brain last year at the World Series, and I actually do think it's pretty awesome. I mean, obviously I'm not a doctor, I haven't done blind study tests or anything like that, but they do offer a money-back guarantee, which I think is nice. And ultimately, I thought it was a cool, unique opportunity to get involved with a company that I can kind of get behind. So there's me sitting right underneath Joe Rogan. I have a little write-up. They like send my tweets out on the page. It's pretty cool. I'll put a link down in the description box below, and you guys can hopefully go check out the site. You don't got to buy anything. Just go poke around, look at the products. Let me know what you guys think. It's pretty cool for me. It's not necessarily like a big sponsorship deal or anything like that, but I am excited to be a part of the team, I guess you could say. And speaking of that, I actually have other news. I was offered and turned down a job to make videos for a training site, one of the top training sites. It was a lower offer than I would have accepted, but it was nice to even have the opportunity. And I did consider working with them just for the sole fact of trying to increase my coaching rates and my exposure that I am coaching in poker. Get a few messages from time to time, but honestly, the area I think I could help most is no limit 6-max, especially 100 big blinds, especially Zoom poker. And honestly, I think that I'm one of the experts. I've spent a lot of time doing the math. I have tons of hands on all the top players. Like, I know what people are doing. I know what works. I know what doesn't work. I'm just really excited to hopefully find a couple students that are dedicated and willing to put in the time and hopefully make a bunch of money. But so that's what's kind of going on with me. So if you're interested in coaching, just head over to the website kevinflapp.com, fill out the contact form, and I'll get back to you with rates depending on what stakes you play. Just give me as much information as possible if you're interested in coaching. So another thing that happened when I was back in Colorado, I went and played the World Series of Poker circuit up in Black Hawk, Colorado. It was a $1,600 buy-in. You could rebuy once, and I thought I played really well. I made a couple marginal decisions where I wasn't necessarily thrilled with my thought process, but I understood they were close decisions and you can't always be right. But I did play some interesting hands, and I implemented some strategies I use at the 6-max Zoom game just based on poker theory. And it's stuff that nobody really does in a live situation, like really weird bet sizing stuff, especially on the river, and also leading more than most people do on the river. So specifically, I have this series of hands against an older gentleman that I really enjoyed when I first got up there. I'm just going to share this with you guys so you guys can see what I'm talking about when I say leading rivers and weird bet sizing. So cutoff limps at 2550 with a 20K starting stack. I'm in the small blind with king queen offsuit. So I decide to raise 5 big blinds, 250, and he calls. The flop comes 10-8-4. Here's another play I use in the 6-max games. I check, he bets 200, and I check raise to 650. The flop had 2 spades on it, and I had the king of spades. So I feel that there's a lot of turn cards, maybe not a lot, but there's enough turn cards that I feel like I can barrel, along with the full equity I have on the flop that makes this a profitable play. So he ends up calling pretty fast. The turn is a 3 of hearts. And I'm first to act, and his mannerisms, he was like just staring at me, like making a point not to look at the board. So I didn't necessarily have a read associated with this at the time, but it did play into my river decision. I decided to check this turn. I feel that hands that he calls the flop with, a lot of the times are going to call this turn, and I'm not committed to triple barreling this hand. So I check, and the river's a queen, and I decide to lead for a smaller bet, lead for 750, and he races to 2200. I have top pair, good kicker, but it just doesn't really make sense that he's gonna be bluffing here ever. So I decide to fold, and he makes the first big mistake of the day, and he shows me what he has. He has Jack-9 of spades. So he flopped the open-ended straight flush, and then check raise. He had the nuts on the river. So felt really good. I folded top pair. Played another hand. Another thing based on my 6-max game where I defend the big blind a lot wider. This is something that Lafort made a few videos on Run It Once, and I thought they were pretty spectacular. Not that I necessarily follow his advice 100% to the T, but I did learn a lot from it. So played a hand under the gun raises, min raise, and I have ace-10 off in the big blind. I call, flop comes queen-9-8, I check call 300, turns an 8, check check, and river's a 6. And I lead really, really small, and he folds. Might have had the best hand, but then I played a hand, small blind versus big blind. I'd got to walk the other time. This time around, it's 5100. Looked at me and said, "Me and you," which I always take as weakness. Well, not always, but depending on how the person says it. I call with Jack-8, club. The flop comes 2-4-5, spade with one club. I call 400. The turn's a 7 of clubs, and I overbet with my flush draw and some weak overcards. And he folds. I bet like 1.5 times pot. And then here's another hand with the same old man villain. There's a dead small blind, and the button limps at 75-150. I raise 400 more with Jack-10 suited, and he calls. The flop comes King-8-4 with one club, 2 diamonds. I have Jack-10 club. So I bet 750. He calls. The turn is a 2. We go check check. The river's a 10, so I river 2 pair, or not 2 pair, second pair, excuse me, and kind of do the same line as last time. I lead small, I lead for 600, and he makes the same play. He raises to 2050, and this time, despite me having second pair, I think his line makes a lot less sense, and I actually think for a little while and call, and I'm good. So at this point, I'm feeling really great with how I'm playing. I led, folded, top pair, and was right, and I led, called, second pair, and was right. So initially, I'm just like, all right, well, all this hard work I've put in is really paying off. I just feel kind of like the analogy I used before. Is like people always said, I wish I could travel back in time and play poker. Well, I feel like I'm traveling ahead in time and getting better, and like everybody else is not getting better as quick as me. So that's why I'm able to kind of use these strategies. Just like the simple strategy of like playing a small blind as like a limp only, and then it's hilarious how many people just isolate you with any 2 cards the first time you limp the small blind. People aren't used to it, and they just snap full. I'm pretty sure you could do it with any 2 cards, and it'd be profitable. Just anytime you get to a new table, you can just limp re-raise the small blind. Don't go crazy post flop, but that's kind of my thoughts on the thing. So next hand with the old man, he's in the cutoff. He raises to 550 at 100, 200, and I call 5-5. The flop comes Queen-7-4. I check call 700. The turn is a 2 of diamonds, so Queen-7-4-2, and it goes check check, and the river's king. So the board reads King Queen 7-4-2, and I have 5-5. And I do another one of my weird plays. I lead for 300 chips, and he actually laughs out loud. Doesn't even think for more than 3 seconds and just throws 300 chips in with ace high, and I'm good. Pick up some more chips. So just really happy with kind of how things are going. Like my bet sizing, I feel like is really paying off for me, and just in general, like I'm very confident with what I'm doing, how I'm handling the table, and all that. So next hand that I played, same old man limps under the gun. I limp behind Queen-8 suited, cut off and button both limp. Small blind completes, and the flop comes ace, ace, ace. And there's like 1,400 in the pot, 1,200 in the pot, checks to me, and I bet 200 chips. And you would not believe how fast all these people folded. Like, it literally made me laugh. Like, I was like, is this real? I could bet 1/6 of the pot, and just nobody thought to peel and float me or anything like that. So that was pretty funny. Ended up just kind of dwindling out on my first buy-in there. I kept all the hands. I wrote all the hands down just because I like to do that sometimes. I feel like it helps me remember what's going on. But I decided not to do it the second turn. I decided to just focus, stay in the flow of the game. And I always think that players think it's kind of weird if you're like writing down everything. So trying to do it sneaky on my iPad. And on the first table, I was in the 9 seat, so it made it really easy that I could type and nobody would see what I'm doing. In the next table, I was a 5 seat, so I had people on both sides of me, and I decided just to chill, play poker. Ended up chipping down from the 20K starting stack to like, I think I had 12K. Played a multi-way hand where I had overs and a flush draw. On the flop, the pre-flop raiser C-bet, I decided not to jam over. I thought that it's clearly a profitable play, but the guy had bet so small that I was getting immediate pot odds with my hand strength and my draw. So I decided just to call down. I ended up calling flop turn and hitting on the river, and he bet called to stack off. Chipped me up. Kind of doing a lot of the same stuff, doing weird bet sizing, weird lines, just really taking advantage of the fact that I've done all these things a lot more than these other people, and get to a point where I'm at a table where one guy's, he's like rejamming over me a lot for like 30, 40 big blinds. Like if I 3-bet, he 4-bet shoves. He's doing like a lot of check shoving on the flop and then just like giving my chips away to everybody else. And I have back-to-back hands where I isolate him one time with ace-king. He calls and folds the flop. And then the very next hand, he raises again. Don't necessarily remember the stack size. I just remember that he raised 2.5 big blinds. The guy to my right was very like looser, like more passive player, calls. And I decided to re-raise real small. I wanted to give the initial raiser room to shove. He only had 25 big blinds. I wanted to think he had full equity. So I raise, it's 2.5, 2.5. I think I made it like 7.5 big blinds or 8 big blinds, so like kind of small. And this lady in the big blind just cold calls me. So I think she has a pretty good, strong hand. She's been playing pretty snug, pretty tight. First guy folds, he doesn't chip over me. I think that lady calling might have ruined that plan because she looks so strong. And the next guy calls. The flop comes 9-8-6 with 2 spades, 9-8-5 with 2 spades. The first guy leads 6K into me, and I have 29K more, and the pot's pretty big. Like I'm making like a half pot raise, and I think for a long time in shove I have king with no spade, and the lady just instantly sticks her stack in, and I'm trying to figure out what she has. I'm thinking there's a chance she slow played aces or queens. She might have like a set of 10 or like top set, something like that. The other guy, like, he's in Haas, and he folds face up queen 10 of spades. So he had the overs, the gutter, and the flush draw. He was worried that his outs were not clean, though. And the lady ended up having 9-7 of spades. So it was 9-8-5. She, like, flopped the gutter, top pair, and the flush draw. She banged out the straight on the turn, and I was dead for, like, a 70K pot. So still relatively early stages of the tournament. Nothing too exciting, nothing too big happening. But it did stink to get put out that way. But I'm always more happy when I feel like I played well, and that was definitely the case that night. So I thought that was pretty awesome. And kind of going back to the topic of like me spending time being able to play really well, I had a question on Twitter asking my advice for getting better at poker. And honestly, for each person, it's going to be different. Everybody has different things they need to work on, but I do think that it's fairly likely that everybody could use these things I'm about to say to improve their game. I don't care if you're Phil Galfond or Tom Dwan. The fact that there's really intelligent people making videos means that you can spend the time and find those really good people making videos, watch those videos, and learn from them. On top of that, unlike probably most other people, I watch training videos more than once. So when I think a video is good or a book is good, go back. When CTS wrote Let There Be Range and I first read it, I was like, wow. There's like a lot of stuff that all makes sense, and I hadn't been thinking about things as clearly. Ended up reading that book 4 times, basically rereading it until I found all the nuances of the book that were wrong, because it's very difficult to write something or make a video and get all the thoughts laid out in a way that you can't break down something and find a flaw in the thinking. So do the same thing with videos. I watch like Sauce's videos, watch some of his videos 3 or 4 times, basically until I watch the first video to see what he's doing, watch the second video because I kind of understand, I can think about it, watch it the 3rd time to try to find mistakes. And when I say mistakes, like they're very, very minor, or kind of with Sauce, sometimes it's even like, oh, I'm just trying to learn and expand on like what he's trying to say and figure out what he's trying to say, run the math on what he's trying to say. But honestly, if you're not watching training videos from like the top people, it's going to be really hard to become like one of the best poker players. It's just really simple. I also, on the advice of Jared Tendler in his book, started a poker journal, and I think that's helped me a lot. Write about different things that happen in the session. I write about how I'm feeling before the session. Most importantly, I write about what I'm going to work on or what I'm thinking about before the session, and then at the end of the session I write about what I need to work on next session. So at any given time I have maybe 10 to 15 things that I'm focusing on, be it bet sizing, be it focusing on how I'm playing and not my results, like all just things like that. So I think that really helps. And the final thing I did, I just started a Google Drive, and anytime I'm like wanting to do math, instead of just opening up like a notepad or just doing the math and figuring it out, I'm keeping all of my work like located in this file, and essentially it's becoming like a big database, a big book of mine with all these different theories I've tried to prove, or math equations that I've worked out for different situations. And having those and being able to look back at those really helps. I use Flopzilla a lot. I think that's a very helpful tool for people. Definitely need to get on that. Even just like working on your ranges, figuring out what hands you want to be calling with, what hands you want to be raising with, check raising with. I think having that tool in front of you really helps. And if you don't spend the time away from the table doing that, it's going to be really hard to make the optimal decision in game. So those are some of my advice to get better. I have tons of things, but it just seems like I start rambling. Some other things that I've been thinking about, basically it was kind of weird. I went back to Colorado, and because I'm doing the whole PokerStars Supernova Elite thing, didn't want to try to like play online at like Lock Poker or any of these other sites that I could have, just because I felt that the break was good for me, that I could use the time off, and when I came back to Mexico I'd be better off, could play more hours on PokerStars. And I have to admit, it's not necessarily the best strategy for me. In the past, when I played online poker, played every day. I didn't take days off. I played less on some days, like some days I'd only play a few hours. But a lot of days I would just play 10 hours, and I'd play 7 days a week. And if I was traveling, I'd play in the airport, I'd play when I get there. And kind of it helps me get in the groove and make better decisions. And taking this 10-day break and then coming to Mexico, it's been a bit of a struggle. And it's made me doubt whether or not that I'm going to be able to do the Supernova Elite, for the simple fact that I get really sick when I travel. I get anxious and I don't eat well. So like when I came to Mexico, I couldn't play the first night I was here. The second day I was here, barely ate anything. Only played for maybe an hour and a half. The day after, played for 3 or 4 hours. Next day I played for 6. So I'm gradually moving towards where I want to be, but if I'm going to constantly be traveling and this is going to be happening, it's going to be really hard to put in the hours I need to. So that's one thing I'm kind of thinking about. So there's a chance I pivot and change my plans, but that won't happen until the World Series. Likely I'm just going to grind here until the World Series starts and then make a decision based on how I'm doing at that time and how the World Series goes, because World Series is one of my main priorities in life. I think it's a unique opportunity to hang out with a bunch of my poker friends, get in a bunch of buy-ins with a minimal amount of travel and expenses, and the fame and glory of winning a bracelet or doing well at the series is very appealing to me. So that's some things that are happening with me. I wanted to test out the new longer format of the video. If you're still watching, appreciate the feedback. I have the idea of doing a hour-long show, podcast, vlog type thing, but it would be with guest and also co-host and video producer and all that stuff. So be interested in knowing if you guys enjoy the longer format, if you guys want quicker updates, like the 5-minute updates every other week or something like that. But yeah, let me know. One last thing I wanted to talk about. Leather Ass, a grinder that he's actually the first student of Jared Tendler. He wrote an article or a blog about going to see Dr. Amen. And Dr. Amen has some clinics, and he does brain SPECT imaging. And it's something I read about, I want to say like 5 or 6 years ago now at this point. It was something I recommended Tom Dwan do, but I'm not necessarily the most scientific person. I couldn't convince him that it was worth it at the time, but it was something I considered doing. And at the time, he only had an office in California, I believe, and it was going to be like a little more expensive than I could justify spending. But long story short, Leather Ass goes. He does this because he knows like a nephew of Dr. Amen, and Dr. Amen does the brain SPECT, and he tells him basically that poker is only slightly better for you than playing football in the NFL, which I thought was super crazy. And he told him that if he played like 24 tables, 8 hours a day until he was 50, he would just drop dead of a stroke. So that's kind of scary, but I think it's an interesting read. You guys should go check out this link to the blog, read it. It's definitely something I'm going to consider doing now that I've had these different mental problems, health problems since I started playing poker. I've found that not all poker players have problems. I think everybody has problems, but these specific problems. But I think it's worth it spending a little bit of money to go get this done, see what they have to say, and just kind of make sure I'm not killing myself. I kind of feel that playing online poker, playing video games in today's age is kind of like steroids for your brain, and we're kind of the guinea pigs. We don't necessarily know what's going to happen. No one has spent as much time on computers and TVs as this generation, and I can understand why they would say that you might die of a stroke when you're 50, because it is very stressful. You are doing a lot of thinking, and you're making a lot more decisions than I think the human brain is supposed to make in a single day. So those are my thoughts. Be interested in hearing what you guys think, and if you have anything you want me to cover in these video blogs, let me know.
I hope the guy decides to talk through if the people decide to walk with them, regardless of pitchfork, cosigns I've jumped. Make sure the sound man doesn't cock block the drums. Let the snare knock the air right out of your lungs, and those words be the oxygen. Just breathe, amen. Regardless, I'ma say it. Felt like I got signed the day that I got an agent. Got an iTunes check, shit, man, I'm paying rent. About damn time that I got it in my basement. About damn time I got around the country and I hit these stages. I was made to slay them. 10,000 hours, I'm so damn close I can taste it. Also Malcolm Gladwell, David Bowie meets Kanye shit. This is dedication. A life lived for art has never a life wasted. 10,000.
10,000 hours felt like 10,000 years. 10,000 years they carry me. 10,000 hours felt like 10,000 years. 10,000 years they carry me.
Nah. This is my world. This is my arena. The TV told me something different, I didn't believe it. I stand here in front of you today, all because of an idea. I could be who I wanted if I could see my potential, and I know that one day I'ma be him. Put the gloves on, sparring with my ego. Everyone's greatest obstacle, I beat him. Celebrate that achievement. Got some attachments and baggage I'm actually working on leaving. See, I observed Escher, I love Basquiat, I watched Keith Haring. You see, I study art. The greats weren't great because at birth they could paint. The greats were great because they paint a lot. I will not be a statistic, just let me be. No child left behind, that's the American scheme. I make my living off of words and do what I love for work. And got around 980 on my SATs. Take that, system, what you expect? Generation of kids choosing love over a desk. You put those hours in and look at what you get. Nothing that you can hold, but everything that it is. 10,000.
10,000 hours felt like 10,000 hands. 10,000 hands that carry me. 10,000 hours felt like 10,000 hands. 10,000 hands that carry me.
Same shit, different days, same struggle. Slow motion as time slips through my knuckles. Nothing beautiful about it. No light at the tunnel. With the people that put their passion before them being comfortable. Raw, unmedicated heart, no substitute. Banging on tabletops, no substitute. I'm feeling better than ever, man. What is up with you? Scraping my knuckles and battling with some drug abuse. I lost another friend, got another call from a sister, and I speak for the people that share that struggle too. Like they got something bruised. My only rehabilitation was the sweat, tears, and blood went up in the booth. It's the part of the show where it all fades away, when the lights go to black and the band leaves the stage.